Okay, we are recording, and yeah, things are a little different. Well, for one thing, I took a week off between the previous part and this one. Um, One tried to have more time writing, and I think I talked about that at the end of the previous one. But I'm back, continuing in that with Attack of the Clones. And by the way, I'm no longer, in case you can't tell because the image should be looking rather different. I'm no longer using the laptop webcam. Laptop's right here, though. That's why I'm sometimes looking over here. Um, Got a nice new fancy webcam that mainly I wanted it to see if it would have better light sensitivity. It definitely does appear to, which is nice because my eyes are sensitive enough that my room is actually usually pretty dim and I can see fine, but the laptop webcam wasn't enough. This seems much happier, so at least there's a lot less grain now. My face and such should be less noisy. But it does have some other neat features, like I can do this and it'll track me around, which is kind of neat, but I am still doing the background removal. Okay, so, to the story. Attack the Clones, which we get a prelude to it. Revenge of the Sith has a introduction. It's labeled. The bulk of it is actually, and by the way, if it weren't for the fact that OBS's background removal would remove the book, I'd actually hold it up to show you, because the webcam would probably be able to read a fair amount of it. Anyway, the majority of it is actually a dream/vision that Anakin is having. That's kind of dark, but it's kind of, the purpose is likely similar to what we had back in The Phantom Menace when he had rescued the Tusken Raider, in that it is a vision of his mother's death. So we're actually getting quite a bit set up in this first part, I should say, I guess. So it is we're reminded that his mother is or was a slave. I'm not sure if she would still be a slave at this time, but it is mentioned how she seems to be smiling, no longer a slave. We also do get that it's been about 10 years from the Phantom Menace. He is training with the Jedi. He is a Padawan still. He is concerned about his mother. And I know I'm jumping around a little bit. We also get some of his relationship with Obi-Wan here, but also his relationship with Palpatine, which is very important. I'd actually heard this mentioned by somebody else who knows these books and the extended universe way more than I do, way better than I do. That in the books, it is explained why Anakin could even be tempted by Palpatine, I guess you could even say. In that Palpatine served as like a father figure for him outside of the Jedi. So it's like, Obi-Wan is more like a brother, but Palpatine is more like a father. So Palpatine is manipulating him the entire time, but is also being that fatherly role. And that is, in fact, set up right here already. So, yeah. But one aspect about the vision, before I move on, that I want to cover, because it does also go into this manipulation. In the vision, her figure, his mother's figure, and all of his friends and family, they say, are there as well, but it's only talking about her. They get kind of contorted, kind of twisted, and then turn to glass. And cracks start to form in them, and there's nothing he can do about this. And even at the end, when he starts to think to reach out with the Force, it still is not enough to protect her, to keep her from falling apart. So then there's his whole thinking, should I tell the Jedi about this? Should I tell Obi-Wan? His master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, would not be able to help. They were too involved in other things in his training, in minor assignments, like border dispute he's currently doing. So it's like, no, I can't share it with him. The Padawan wanted to get back to Coruscant as soon as possible. He needed guidance now, but not the kind he was getting from Obi-Wan. Okay? He needed to speak with Chancellor Palpatine again to hear the man's reassuring words. Okay? So immediately we are getting the setup here that Anakin is basically, he has a relationship with both of them that are a mentor-type relationship. But, Padawan took great comfort in that now, with the terrible dream so vivid in his thoughts. For the Chancellor, the wise leader of all the Republic, had promised him that his powers would soar to previously unknown heights. that he would become a power even among the powerful Jedi. Perhaps that was the answer. Perhaps the mightiest of the Jedi, the mightiest of the mighty, could strengthen the fragile glass. So this is actually really neat, and it does have me somewhat hopeful for the rest of the book, because I was not that impressed by the Phantom Menace. How much? Okay, I might think that. Okay, I just turned off the tracking because I didn't realize how much it was doing the up and down. Since I have to look over there to see it. Anyway, I am liking this so far. And it does make me hopeful for the book that it may not be so fragile and flimsy as I was describing the Phantom Menace, where it's like things are just happening because they want it to happen. Here we have actually a fair amount of setup that we certainly don't get in the movies. So maybe I'm just biased, being biased by that. That's like I know that the movies doesn't cover some of this as well as is necessary to have more things make sense. So I may be biased because of that. It could still be this movie that this book will end up being equally fragile and flimsy. But it still is that there's a lot of information actually dumped here in a very good way, in that it isn't overwhelming, and it's more like it's more subtle. It is more subtle, but it is still quite clear there that yes, he does have a trust with Obi-Wan, but still is, oh, he's too busy. I'll bother somebody else. Yeah, I'll bother the head of the Republic. That's who I'll bother. Because Obi-Wan's too busy. It's a little weird, but it's undoubtedly also the whole Palpatine makes the time for him. So there's therefore always that sense of I can get the information that he's not too busy for me. Whereas Obi-Wan, he knows how busy he is, so Obi-Wan would have a harder time, potentially, in Anakin's mind, have a harder time deciding that, yes, Anakin, you are a priority now. That's like, well, I have these other priorities, and Anakin might be judging, oh, I'm not a high enough priority for you. Whereas, let me see if I can do this. Oh, I didn't realize I was that close to the top. My brain just turned off a little bit from doing that. Sorry. But Palpatine is always making that time. So, wait, did I actually... the light on it blinked. So it might, because Palpatine always makes the time, so it's always like, yes, I can always make you a priority. So there is an interesting kind of manipulation going on there. Well, manipulation isn't quite the right word, because if we ignore the whole, this becomes Emperor Palpatine later. If we ignore that, then it is just, you have a older man here, a statesman at that, who has an interest, who has decided to have an interest in this boy. I mean, yes, he's now a young man, but initially as a boy, and is potentially just trying to be a father figure to him, somebody outside of the Jedi for him to come to and speak with. I'm just trying to think who might be another example of that in... No, not really, because we don't really have anyone else like that. But it would be like if he had regular access to Padme, going to her and talking with her. Except, as far as it being somebody outside the Jedi, that, somebody that he doesn't necessarily have as clear a sense of the schedule and such as he does with Obi-Wan. I mean, obviously the relationship would be very different between him and Padme, and will be, than he and Palpatine. But it still is the idea of just somebody outside of it who, if they have already established that, yes, I make the time for you, versus Obi-Wan, who, as I was saying with the schedule, Anakin knows how little time he has. It is definitely well set up here, and it will be very interesting to see how things continue with it. So yeah, hopefully, I'm just looking at, hopefully the rest of it will be good. But it's hard to say because, I mean, Phantom Menace was reminding me too much of Empire. It was still better than Empire because, and I don't remember if I actually said this in a video because it's been a week. I don't remember if I actually said it in a video or not. But I know at least what I was thinking was that Empire, it felt like everyone was stupid in it, except for the crew of the Avenger. Whereas in Phantom Menace, it felt like, nah, they're not stupid. It's just, I didn't feel that things were what happened, I didn't feel had proper motivation or proper explanation most of the time. Kind of same reason, kind of same issue, but different reason. Hopefully this will be better. And it is. I actually saw somebody had left a comment on a previous video. Who wrote them? This is R.A. Salvatore, based on the story by George Lucas and screenplay by George Lucas and Jonathan Hales. Phantom Menace was Terry Brooks, and again based on the story and screenplay by George Lucas. And Revenge of the Sith, Matthew Stover, based on the story and screenplay by George Lucas. So yeah, different authors between all three. We'll see how R.A. Salvatore does, and I know I've seen that name somewhere before. I don't remember. I don't typically know many author names, so sorry about that. Anyway, one thing I'll quickly explain, because I do have some time yet. What I'm going to try to do here, here, let me actually, because in theory this turns the, nope. Okay, there, I just turned the tracking back on. What I'm going to try to do is, this is currently Saturday. Between today and tomorrow, I'm going to try to record as many videos as I can from this, so that I will have the week free to write. So that at least if I decide, yeah, I feel more like spending time writing than doing one of these videos, I will feel more comfortable doing that. Well, I'll already have some that can come out during the week. So yeah, I just wanted to quickly explain that. But yeah, so I'm going to try to push through a lot of this, and it might then end up with, if I do take some days off in the middle of the week, there might be a problem as far as my memory of the previous chapters waning some, but we'll see. As opposed to before, I always try to do at least one video a day and every day consecutively. So gonna be a little different here. We'll see how that goes. But in any case, at least in theory, I should be looking better in this. We'll see how the video also turns out. The noise from gain may also have been making the video fatter file size wise than it should. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. And I may also try moving the camera out. But goodbye.